Hello, so the next two videos we're going to kind of learn how to take advantage of the LCD display a little bit better. And this first one I'm going to do right now kind of gives us the overview of the standard load, the standard things that you could take advantage of using the LCD display. And on the second video, we'll probably create a couple of custom characters, play around with them a little bit like I've done here, and just move on from there and you'll be set and ready to go. So that being said, excuse me, I want you to start by just getting the standard load again. So that was File, Examples, and down here to Liquid Crystal, and then go with Hello World. Okay? Examples, Liquid Crystal, Hello World. And that'll give you this. And this is what we built already in class. You've already got this working. And all we really need actually is this setup material here, but we'll just go ahead and build on from here. Okay, now I've already have this code ready for download. If you want to be able to get it, what we're going to do today, okay, you can just go to your page, go to Code Examples, go to Unit 1, Module 11, and in fact, actually, here's that same exact code. Okay, this is the standard Liquid Crystal library, and then what I'm actually going to do right now is a whole bunch of examples, and they're all right here. Example 1, 2, 3, 4, on down to 7. You can just copy them from here if you want to, or you can just build along with me, whatever you want to do. I will say basically what I'm going to do is, this is the actual Arduino library. Okay, you can always just Google Arduino, a Liquid Crystal library, and it's going to get you to this page through a number of different ways. There's a number of examples right here, okay, that you can just click on. And then what I'm going to do is talk about many of these different functions that are built into the library in my example. But all this stuff works great. These examples are fantastic. This is what we're going to talk about, and of course we'll just work together on some of it. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. Now I want to make a minor modification to setup. Only because I'm just going to change the message actually, and I also want to be able to use our serial monitor at the same time. So I'm going to replace this with some new commands here, and let me save this. Save as, and I'll just call this demo. I'll call this LCD demo. Okay. And this will be very much like what's already posted on the web. So I want to open up a serial port so we can see things come off the serial port at the same time. On the serial port, I'm going to be talking about what actually happens. You can see it displayed. And I've changed it here so it says, let's begin. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to do is I'm actually going to use these loop for the examples. So I actually kind of want to move, I want to go ahead and move that information from the loop into its own example. So I'm going to take essentially this LCD print and LCD cursor, and I'm going to put it down here in my example 1. Okay, but then you can see I've added some information. It's actually talking about what's actually happening here. So this line right here tells it to go to the 0 position on line 1, which is the second line down. Okay, and of course that's where it's going to be printing out this clock event that you've already saw on the demo. All right, so I can go ahead and get rid of this junk, because what I really want to do is I want to run some examples. Okay, and I'm going to copy them right into here, and I've also got an example 7. Let me do that. All right, and we're going to start off with examples 1 and 2. So let me set up examples 1 and 2. Okay, and 2 is actually, example 2 is fairly long, and I'm copying it so we can bring it in, and I'll talk a little bit about it. Okay, so what example 2 is going to do is it's going to actually move to all these different cursor positions. Okay, so that's a cursor position. So that's going to be up here in the upper left. This is a cursor position, so now this is line 1, so it's going to be down here in the lower left. And over here, we're going to be moving to the 8th position. This is 16, so I'm going to move it to 8 on the 0 line. And on this one here, we're going to put it down here on position 8 of the 1 line, which is the lower line. So if I go ahead and uncomment these two and run it, what we should see is a change. It's going to say, let's begin. It's counting 1. But then it's going to move right over to this example. Okay? And if I open up my serial port, what you'll see is it's giving a little information about what's actually happening. So when it comes up here, this is column 0, line 0. And then the next one, it's going to give us a position which is column 0, line 1. So it starts right there. Here we're going to move over to column 8, line 0. And down here, we're going to move to column 8, line 1. So that's line 0, that's line 1. Okay? And it's all spelled out right here. So if you need to know how to move it around, this is going to be the command that you want to use. And notice that I do another thing in here routinely, which is clear the display. Clear the display someplace. There it is. I clear the display. So that's clear. That's cursor position. And of course, print should make obvious sense. Okay? So let's move on to the next example. Let's look at example 3. Example 3 is really, really short. It's basically just showing you that you can write a single character, and that's done with write instead of print. And this will be important when we have to do our custom characters like Pac-Man. So if I run example 3, you'll see that it's going to go ahead and print out an A all the way across. Okay, because I've run a loop and we're moving it, we're printing A 15 or 16 times, and it's just going to automatically scroll it across. Okay, so I cleared it, and then I print 16 A's, and it's smart enough to know that it needs to go into the new position unless I explicitly tell it otherwise. All right, so let's go look at example 4. So example 4 is going to give us the option of displaying the cursor. So if we go down here, we paste in example 4, and I'll go ahead and pull that up and run it, and then we'll go look at the code. Essentially what we're doing here is, you've seen this many times, I'm sure, when you've played with an LCD. Sometimes it has a cursor on it. If you'd like to have that cursor position, then you just simply have to call this command, which enables the cursor. Okay? If you'd like to explicitly say no cursor, or get rid of the cursor, so in this case it has a cursor, now I've called no cursor, and it's going to go ahead and print a total of 8, because we're going from 0 to 7, B's, and it's going to loop itself around again. So we'll see it reproduce with the cursor, and then the next time we'll see it without the cursor. Okay? So let's look at example 5. And again, this is something you're probably very familiar with. I'm sure you've seen it. So let's go ahead and put that down there. And I'll call example 5. All right, let's load it up. And example 5 is that infamous blinking cursor. Okay? And again, I'm sure we've all seen this with the cursor that blinks. All right, so now I've got a blinking cursor that's flashing. And I can tell it, well, I don't want a blinking cursor by calling the no blink, which is going to turn the cursor off. So now we're back to just having a, I'm sorry, we have a cursor, but we have no blinking cursor. Okay? So therefore, we are set and ready to go. Let's move on to the next example. This is where it starts to get a little more interesting. right, let's load up example 6. So if you need some other tools, here's one that's super handy. I use quite a bit. And this is going to allow the text to scroll. Okay, so there it is going right, and then here you see it's going left. And what I've done here is I've went ahead and created a loop. First thing I did was type the word going right, and then for a total of 15 spaces I scrolled the display right. Okay, so it literally just pushed it along 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 15 times. Then what I do is I clear it. Home, by the way, is over here in the upper left. Then I tell it to go scrolling left. Okay, where do I say it here? It's scrolling left. And then I tell it to do it 15 times, scroll it to the left. So it pushes it to the left 15 spaces. Then it types something, and then it goes ahead and does it again. Now, this is super handy if you have something very long that you want to type. Okay? So in this case, this is way longer than the 16 characters of my display, but I can actually get it to be displayed by simply scrolling at the number of characters that it is. So you can see right here that I type it all out, tell it to type it all out, but then scroll it to the left. So we'll see that come up again. It's going left. And now we're going to type something really long, and we're going to scroll it to the left. Okay? Cool. And I think I only have one more example, if I'm not mistaken, which is example 7. Now let's take a look at example 7. The auto scroll. Now, auto scroll comes in handy when you want to force it to go particularly in the other direction. Okay? So, here we're going to have with auto scroll, and you can see it shifting off in this direction. Now, normally I can type characters and it builds it from left to right. And if I have no auto scroll, for example, and I run a loop, it's just stuck there because it was already at the end of the character. But if I do turn on auto scroll, I can actually shift it from the right to the left. All right, so it automatically fits the characters into the display, and that happens right here. So if I use auto scroll, okay, then it's going to actually just print those numbers. What I have it doing is printing numbers up to 10, and you can see that it's actually auto scrolling it to the left. If I do not put on auto scroll, so I say no auto scroll, and I do the exact same thing, okay, keep in mind I started it way at the end, well, then it just gets stuck there because we never see it scroll. Okay, so hopefully this set of examples will be handy, and like I said, the website is full of good ones too, so if you have questions, don't hesitate to click on any one of these. You can see that they open up and they give you examples that you can actually look at and figure out what's actually going on. But hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you all again soon.